this understanding. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Let us we all be protected. It's a common understanding. So what the teacher does, teacher picks up the knowledge from the Eastern wisdom and he puts that knowledge into your mind. But the mind does not agree in the beginning. But persistent learning and consistent learning helps the mind to change. One day awakening takes place. Oh, you are right. Why I am complaining against someone? Why shouldn't I be grateful and should appreciate the existence as because of the existence we both exist? Oh, let you follow your way and I follow my way. That is very important in the journey to become a seeker. Sahano bhunaktu. Sahano, we should both be nourished. So here, nourished not by the food, but nourished by the knowledge contained in the thought. That is all about the session of the Eastern wisdom. So it means the seeker should enjoy the teaching and the teacher should also enjoy. Teacher should not find the burden. Sahaviryam karva vahi. Active participation. That is the real meaning of namaste or even touching the feet of a master. That I have. My thought is now aligned with the thought of a teacher, and the teacher's thought is aligned with the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom. That is very important. Tejasvina vadhitamastu means I should live in that state of awareness and attention to receive this knowledge. Ma vidvishavahi. When the mind enters into jealousy or a duality, I should take this mind back to the knowledge. Maybe another one more, or maybe we will start learning every verse. But the next session I'll give you a brief that how we learn each and every verse, because we all are seekers, we should understand. Do you still remember? The first group I discussed about 360-degree understanding. Why? Because we are searching what is all pervading, what is eternal, what is the truth. So truth means that does not change anywhere, that is all pervading. Can I experience that? That is the journey. It means it is present here and now, but I don't know. When I don't know, that is the ignorance. Ignorance caused by the impurities of the mind. So I have to, you see that how the journey takes the turn. That is where the 360-degree understanding comes. And I have discussed, I have to persistently reflect on that in my head. What is this desire fulfillment and what is self-fulfillment? How do I strike a harmony inside me in my thought, speech, and action? Can that real self be experienced or attained if we do not balance the other What is my personal, professional, social, and family life? If you do not strike the balance, it is not possible. Why? Think of it. Why? Ask yourself why. Be logical. Why? I've been constantly thinking. I have all the thoughts about others. I don't have a time for my real self. I don't have time. So when I don't have a time for my own contemplation that where is the real self, I'm other oriented. So that is why our master says it is the desire of all the desires in the mind. But now then we have to look at it, that doubt about the validity of the knowledge. How can I see? How can I experience that real self is all pervading? That is the subject matter of all the schools of yoga. Patanjali instantly talked in the very third sutra, Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. When you go into a deeper state of meditation, you are centered in your own essential nature. That is what the real self is. So we have not contemplated and reflected on it, and we move forward. No. So it means the doubt still persists about the validity of this knowledge. And I still have a doubt about whether I have the real self or not. So real self. So doubt, two doubts. Doubt about the validity of teaching. Doubt about the object to be realized. Object is the real self. So because I have both the doubts, now think of it. When I have a doubt, I leave that topic and my mind starts distracted, wandering. It creates a delusion. It leaves us in ignorance. So see the logical conclusion. That is why we say asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. We have to, so I have to recognize the false and the real. I have to recognize the ignorance and the wisdom, and gradually, by persistent self-inquiry, I understand here is the real self. The way I understand, what I understand now, I'm Ashok, I'm Stephen, that is what I understand. But if one asks the question, who is this Stephen? Then you see how the mind is distracted. Yes, I have a family, I live in Arizona, and long list. But you are deviating. There is too much of distraction. I'm asking you who you are. Why it is happening? Because of the doubt regarding the validity of the knowledge. And also the doubt regarding, am I the real self? Am I the consciousness? Yes, we are. Consciousness is all pervading, yes. So the master devised the ways that how to get rid of it. And this master is a great master. So the entire Eastern wisdom says that we can lay down simple steps. Mangalacharan, I will talk in detail about the Mangalacharan in relation to how the master is introducing the Mangalacharan in the very first verse. Then we have four connections. Do you remember the four connections? And if you remember the four connections, your mind stops distraction. Then we have to become a qualified seeker. And then we have to act in the world by thought, speech, and action every day. So our thought, speech, and action are aligned in such a way that you perform, before doing any action, peace. During the action, peace. After the action, peace. You are talking to honey, first check you are in peace. Ashok. Then talk to your honey. Check that you are still in peace. And once you have finished your talk, you are still in peace. That is the secret of karma yoga. We will talk about that. And once you do that state, what happens then? Upasana is another word is used. Means I have to see whether I have an emotional dependence or emotional freedom. How you have an emotional freedom? Only because of unconditional love, if I recognize that unconditional love. So what we will do? We will add karma yoga with unconditional love. This is what the master is going to teach us. And then the real journey begins. Now what happens? Whatever the teacher teaches, reception. The mind receives it 100%. When you receive any knowledge 100%, see what happens in attachment. Oh, she is very beautiful. You met her in the mall. Now you return home. Your mind is still there. Though we have been learning for so many years, is your mind still there on the real side? So it means towards the attachment, mind is still leaning. I have to ask this mind to lean towards the self-discovery. It's all about understanding. So then last week, all these steps, all the 360-degree understanding, all the 4 issues of ignorance and doubt, and all the 9 steps, one master has summarized in 5 steps. So you should remember the first 5 steps, and from the 5 steps you can expand it because you already have that understanding. So what are those 5 steps? So first step is the seeker's questioning mind. You are a qualified seeker. And now you should also know how you approach the teacher. Not by saying anything physically, but internally. Your emotional, your mental, you have a sense of mental maturity, an emotional poise. That is how we approach the teacher or the knowledge. And then the third step is listening and learning, because now you are fully prepared. And the fourth is the contemplation, reflection, and practice. And the fifth is the result. We enjoy that result. So if you summarize all the 5 steps, where we are heading to Sat Chit Ananda. What is Sat? Sat is known as, either you can say it is the truth or it is the existence. Chit, consciousness. Ananda, permanent happiness. So we are in search of the Satchitana. So we have given another name of the real self, which is Satchitanand, absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. Or simply we say it is consciousness. Simply we say it is consciousness. That is the word. So once these 5 steps are 100% clear to your head, so you need to contemplate and reflect again and again, because we are going to start from the next week what the master says. I have laid the very strong foundation. How can one verified that there is a true nature. My true nature is absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. That should be our topic. The experience of the real self comes through the direct experience. We verify through the intellect by cause and effect relationship, and we reach to a direct experience of the real self, which is the result of persistent self-inquiry and practice. In the beginning, we do the practice, and gradually the practice is gone. Why the practice? To deepen our understanding. And once our understanding deepens, we recognize it. At the moment, oh, here is David, here is Jerry. What is that recognition? What happens to my mind? How do I recognize? Are you understanding? I'm just giving this master is a great master. And he has taught us from the original text of Upanishads and the Gita. So he has taken one verse and he has explained in 50 verses, logically. I'm just giving you some ideas. Oh, here is Ashok. I recognize it. How I recognize? Oh, we say simply memory, but I have memories of everything that I have undergone into the past. Science says short-term memory and long-term memory. Science says no, we have forgotten this. Why I forget one thing and why I don't forget the other thing? It's an in-depth psychological challenge is that he solves. And once we recognize the real self, it cannot be forgotten. That is what he says. Once you recognize it, once you have a cognition, cognition means knowledge and experience both. You cannot forget it. He answers also, why do we experience pain and the pleasure if our true nature is blissful? Do you have an answer? Simple answer. Because of my identification with the body and the mind. Because my mind claims I am the body and the mind, and the body continues to change. Mind is constantly changing. Mind has a lot of expectations. So the role of the intellect is very, very high. And if the intellect is dictated by the mind, I cannot do the inquiry. So the impurities of the mind. See how I'm connecting these dots so that your intellect understands it clearly. It is very important that you understand. So that is why, on the other hand, the mind, our master says that you should have an intense desire to know the real self. Why you should have intense desire? Answer it. No belief, no cult, no dogma, no religion. I should have an intense desire to find the real self so that the other sub-desires of seeking happiness outside is consumed, is burnt, is melted. That is why I should have an intense desire. Do I have that? When you have that, your blame and complaint and reaction to the world stops. What it means? That intense desire also helps you to purify the mind. Why I said so? So sometimes the people join the session very late, but they have an intense desire. So their impurities are melted away in few sessions. See, is the self-inquiry a gradual process or a sudden realization? We are answering that so that you should be ready to, whenever your mind is going anywhere else, then the self-discovery you should answer. I am not a qualified seeker, then it is a gradual process. I am a qualified seeker, it is possible here and now. I talked about it, that this master only 15 chapters, more than 1500 verses divided in 15 chapters. He only talks about real self, which is Satchidanand. We cannot understand what is the real self. So, further understanding, it is absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. And then he devoted 5 chapters to the existence, and you have a direct experience of the existence after completing the 5 chapters. You have a direct experience that you are consciousness, and you have a direct experience of the permanent state of the happiness. I can promise you on behalf of this master that you have undergone all the 15 chapters. You cannot be the same person again. That is the beauty. That such a strong conviction changes our mind. So in one of the verse, in 5th or 6th verse chapter, he asks, he questions and he answers. That is the beauty. Who can practice this self-inquiry? He says anyone. You start the inquiry. He appeals to everyone. When you can start the self-inquiry? Anytime. Where does the self-inquiry lead us to? Self-realization, knowing the real self, or what we say awakening. So how do I know that I'm on the path? You will start understanding. Huh? Just now the Shuk said, yes, I should not think about my honey too much. Let her think of her own. I should think about myself. That is an ability. That makes us a qualified seeker. So it means a kind of detachment has come. So I need not to practice detachment. I should awaken to it. How? By understanding. That is why I always say that spirituality, this journey of the self-discovery, is 200% logical and rational. Science is only 100%. So these 15 chapters just give you an overview of these 15 chapters so that you will understand what are the challenges that I have been facing, not outside, but also inside me. So the chapter 1, he begins with the discernment of the real and the unreal. And by such a beautiful example that you cannot reject it. Your mind will continue to remind you, oh, here I am not. What is that conviction? Just gave you a brief of it. Am I a waker? If I am a waker alone, then what about the sleeper? I am not. And you see the sleeper and the waker when you are in it. I'm just giving a noun to it. Sleeper, waker, and the dreamer. They don't meet together. But I pass through my sleeper state, waker state, and dream state. Think of this. Just think, yes, I cannot say that I'm only a waker because I sleep every day. I cannot say that I'm a dreamer alone. And when I'm a dreamer, I'm not a sleeper. When I'm a sleeper, I'm not a waker. Oh, but then who am I? That I am, who is present in the sleeping state, who is present in the waking state, who is present in the dream state. Do you see that? And he brings in such a clarity. You cannot reject it. And on that basis, he builds what is real and what is unreal. How many times you slept until today? 50 years? So 50 years multiplied by 365 days. How many times you were a waker? These are the different stations you pass through. But that I am is unchanged. So what is real and what is unreal? He don't ask you a question. You said you decide who you are. That is the beauty of this master. And in the chapter, so I'm just giving an overview. Chapter 2, he does not say practice dispassion or detachment. He says this is what is the reality. What you are going to do now. Example. Many examples of this. I've been eating sugar. Now I have a diabetes. So having eaten sugar, first incident was a pleasure. Second incident was a pain. The main causative factor is the sugar. No, it is my attachment to the sugar. So he presents you in such a clarity what you are going to do now. So you don't say sugar is poison. If sugar is poison, I should have died many years ago. Do you think that? So we don't label anything in the world, but we understand what is my relationship. Am I attached or am I detached? Am I in a state of dispassion or am I in a state of delusion? In the third chapter, he defines what is calmness and relaxation. Not according to the science. In science, we talk of physiological, biochemical, neurophysiological relaxation. There are many words we say. And then we have certain parameters. You have a high blood pressure, your neurophysiological parameters should be different, but it doesn't mean that you are not in a state of relaxation. Science works differently. They are also good, and we understand from the science. So he talks about that. Are you in the state of the calmness and or not? Find out. The fourth chapter, because once you have covered the 3 chapters beautifully, if you have covered the 3 chapters as a qualified seeker, the 4th chapter is intense desire for liberation. He says it is natural to you. How he says it is natural? We are always looking for peace and happiness. You're listening to me, after some time you change your posture. You are still looking for that calmness. You are eating food, you are looking for that happiness. You are driving your car, you have a car that you like to happiness. Dislike to happiness. What do you mean by dislike to happiness? I hate you, so I don't want to meet you. So you don't meet me, I'm happy. So the master says, I'm just giving you an overview of this. So the master says, happiness, no, mind, like, happiness. Mind, say mind, dislike, happiness. Why don't you remove like and dislike and check whether you get happiness or not? Because I like, that is why I get happiness. Can I get happiness if I dislike? I'm drinking coffee and I dislike coffee. Can I get happiness? Oh, the mind is deluded me. Mind is causing the delusion. My God. So you recognize it. You see the cognition. It blows your mind. You see the mathematical equation. I converted many of them into mathematical equation for my own understanding. So now what happens in the 4th chapter, you have that intense desire. Now your mind says, no, I have to learn completely. And the 5th chapter is about listening and learning. So master says, you have been listening from the 1st chapter, but now your listening and learning has undergone a sea change. Why sea change? Your mind is 100% focused. It doesn't go, it is not wandering anywhere as long as you are listening and learning to the knowledge. He is not pushing us. But the mind is so much motivated, it is inspired. It is like sometime, we have a fiction, we read novel, or we watch movie. We are watching movie, and our mouth opens and eyes dilated. That kind of aha moment comes because of understanding. This is how genius he is. And then what happens? Your contemplation and reflection begins naturally. That is what the 6th chapter is. You have done practice of meditation, you are calmness, now you are going for a job, you are driving your car. First you check before driving, am I in peace? During that peace, after it peace. So what happens? You forget that you have any issue with your boss in the office. Because your mind is moving in totally a different direction. You have a pain in the body, but the suffering is not there because the mind is moving in another direction. I'm just putting up an overview, the way I have understood this great master and his knowledge. So now what happens in the 7th chapter, the master says, your mind says, let me meditate, and you are ready. You close your eyes, you are being comfortable, you are carefree, and you enter into the meditation state. Naturally. So what you do in meditation, you still use your intellect, you are still contemplating. I am clear now. Here is the real and here is unreal. So then there is a specific challenges that we have to face at a deeper level, at the unconscious level. We are able to explore that. In the chapter 9, we explore, I get emotionally upset. Now that is gone. He puts emotional emotion, emotional upset, emotional freedom. He says, choose anyone that you like. This master is extraordinary. He lived in 14th century, and I discussed, I think, last week, and a genius, a great genius. And he used the same original text of yoga, Upanishads, all the original texts, and he brought those verses and then he explained it in his own way. So now you see that there is one problem when I told you that perhaps in the chapter 7th, we talked about meditation. So then you are listening and learning, you are removing that emotional immaturity, emotional dependence in the 9th chapter. And now he again talks in detail about the meditation. Why? Before it was logical understanding, then he added the emotional. What is that emotion? Emotional upset and emotional poise. Now emotional poise is there. Then what happens? You have a love for the existence. From there the compassion comes. In the 11th chapter, he analyzes different approaches. He did not take up the approaches before. We have many schools of yoga. He analyzes every approach. He says, this is what this is. This is what happens. Means, in the rest of the chapters, he talks about why this approach, means why his approach is the best approach. Nothing like ego, but he says that my approach is best approach. Why I will relax if I do the breathing for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. So he explains that that calmness is not the result of the breathing, but something happens deeper inside. Why you are going for a breathing? Why don't you understand it? Why don't you keep the thought that pertains to the knowledge of the peace? Last but not the least, in the chapter 14th, he says, here is a direct experience of the real self. He defines what is direct experience, what is indirect experience. Am I experiencing you directly? Science says yes. We say no. But the science also agrees it is no. How do I experience you? I experience you through the mind, going through my eyes and ears, listening and seeing you. So what is the middle factors are eyes and the mind. What is direct experience? Remove the sense organ in the mind. Can you lose awareness? No. Can I have direct experience? Yes. It defines clearly. One thing that is left, which he explains again in the 15th chapter. What is that 15th chapter? Logical. He explains, where is happiness? Can you recognize happiness is your essential nature? The pleasure that you are experiencing, he says, pleasures that we are experiencing in our daily life is just a manifestation of the same permanent happiness. He doesn't oppose it. But in the beginning, we have to oppose it to discern between the real and unreal. You like pasta, you get a pleasure in eating pasta. You are eating the pasta, but now your mind recognizing it is a manifestation of permanent happiness. Pleasure does not lie in the pasta. So, what happens to your mind? Your mind remains pure. Your mind is not attached to the pasta. Second time, pasta is not available. Other food is available. Yes, you enjoy. You have the same pleasure. Mind does not cause any duality in the country. That is the power of his explanations. One more thing is should be understood and kept in the mind. When we say absolute existence, consciousness, bliss, it is like a three-stranded rope, each strand representing each strand representing the existence, consciousness, and bliss. When woven together, they create an unbreakable bond. Think of this: shirt, thread. So outside I can say yes, it is the real self, but when I have to analyze it, so I can recognize that how they are woven together. That is one approach, and he adds also another approach. You are aware of that. Whereas that self inquiry is like peeling an onion, the outermost layer, second layer, and you continue to peel. What do you find? Nothingness. Who says nothingness? Mind says nothingness. Why the mind says nothingness? Mind needs the name and the form to name it. Because if the mind cannot name any object, it cannot recognize the real self. That very nothingness, we have a direct experience of the real self. That is what is the journey like. So let us close your eyes with that understanding. Close your eyes, being comfortable and carefree. After some time, we will keep our eyes open, just talking, thinking, receiving. We will see whether we are in a meditation or not. Eyes are closed, ears attentive to listening. So you sit and adopt any posture that is comfortable, ease and happy pose, I would say. So in the beginning I told you, I gave you an equation that mind like happiness, mind dislike unhappiness. So in the beginning we follow that. And in the end we recognize your liking is to allow that happiness to manifest. Even if you don't like, happiness is still there. I'm speaking the language which you can understand. That's why I'm laying a foundation for that. So, being comfortable. Being comfortable. Can we have some direct experience? See that. You look at the entire body. So it is the mind, the senses, or only the mind has a direct experience of the physical body. Now separate it. How do you experience? It is happening in the mind. What is happening in the mind? Sensation. And the mind through the memory recognizes sensation in the body. Comfort in the mind. a stillness coming from deeper within. Why the mind and body can never be still? You see, that is what the cognitive ability. We need a common sense. You need not to go for a cognitive behavior therapy. CBT normally say no. And that brings us to the verse by another great master, Yadi Deham Prathak Pratyah. If we allow the body, no, if we separate the body, if it is not separated, how can you separate it? But if it is already separate, I feel non-separation because of attachment and delusion. So I have to move the mind inside. And that is where the idea and the step of being comfortable comes. Even when I say you, take one example, look at the shoulder joints. I'm not saying look at any object in the world. So if the mind is aware, it is absorbed in being aware of the shoulder joints. And then I say, why don't you look deep inside from where the joint has started? At the same time, you can locate it, but at the same time, you have a space all around. And that space gives an opportunity for us to have a direct perception. In that direct perception, we recognize mind, words, senses are not required. I still feel there is a stillness in the body. So in every session, I add something which is coming up in the future sessions. So once we are 100% clear, it will make a sense that it is a direct experience. Stillness name is given by the mind, but awareness of stillness is there. You see that I'm not speaking, you should not take it that I'm speaking a foreign language. That is why I'm laid a foundation. That's what makes you a seeker. Persistent self-inquiry. And now look at, recently I started making you understand. Look at the space inside the forehead, the space in the sky, or simply the sky. In the sky, the clouds are moving, sky is not, but the sky appears moving. So with reference to the space inside the forehead, thought, feeling, emotions, likes, dislikes, pertaining to the body-mind complex continues moving. It gives a false notion that the sky is also moving. It gives us a false notion the real self is also moving. You see how I'm making a transition from one metaphor to the real self. So when the real self is absolute existence, consciousness and bliss, it is absolute existence. Means what? It is present in all the locations, all the time, in all the relations. There is no place where the existence is not. So the intellect says, if that is the nature, then it cannot move. So mind says, let me find out what doesn't move. And when we have a clear example, the sky doesn't change, doesn't move. Birds flying in the sky are moving, the clouds, same way the thoughts and the space behind the thought does not move. From there, we begin our self-inquiry. So name is given to this perception is a witness consciousness. I witness that this space does not change, is not changing. What is on the space or the sky keeps changing. And that knower is without the senses and without the mind. If it is without the mind, then let the thought come and let the thought go. See that? Now it is easy for us at this moment that sensation may be changing, thoughts may be changing, feelings and emotions are surging and leaving. But there is something more than that that appears not changing, which I said earlier, knower in the known. Witness consciousness and what it witnesses keeps changing. It may be the breath, it may be the body, it may be the sensation. So you are just not knowing with that understanding, with that cognition. What is that cognition? You have a cognition of the knower, which you can say the seer. You have a cognition of what is changing. So the moment anything changes, the mind picks up and you have an understanding. Means what? You have a knowledge. Means what? You are aware. What is changing is not me. We have already understood what is changing is real, unreal. After all, someone knows. Someone knows in me that this is changing. Body is changing, mind is changing, thoughts, feeling, emotions are changing. So I simply reject by understanding this is not me. Very rejection is done by the mind, and once rejection means you have separated. So knower and the known. Mind goes anywhere, it is distracted. No worries. Can you remind knower in the known or seer in the seeing? There are many words given, subject in the object, witness consciousness in the rest of the word. Can we listen to it again and try to find out that can you extend this state on your own every day? Just apply the common sense, knower in the known. We don't need a higher IQ. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. How are you, Dennis?
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for the practice and the lecture. I was contemplating on the last phrase before the meditation started about the nothingness and how we reject everything that the mind is able to feel and comprehend and understand, like we peel the onion, and when we reject everything that is known to the mind, we arrive at that which we call nothingness. But this nothingness is not absence. It is only a pointer to something that is beyond the mind's understanding. And this contemplation kind of opened a new perspective of this label nothingness to the mind that is kind of the goal that we have to pursue and reach it to move beyond the mind, to understand something that is beyond the mind by something that is not the mind.
Yes. Yes. And the concluding phrase is the self knows the self. Mind cannot know the self. But doesn't mean that we need not to prepare the mind. Beautifully, you summarize that we find the nothingness, it is because of inability of the mind to see beyond its limitation. Mind is limited to have a perception of anything with a name in the form. If you cannot give name in the form, the mind cannot comprehend it. Real self is beyond the name in the form. How can it comprehend it? So that is why we have to follow the self-inquiry. Beautifully said. Thank you. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you. Wow. Very interesting. Jerry and I were having a discussion this morning about the one of the sutras and the foundation of learning and wanting to learn. And it's interesting because the Eastern wisdom is so simple, yet our inhibitions through our mind and our influences with the outside world prohibit the growth of that Eastern wisdom. And so for me today, it was just sort of further highlighting the simplicity of Eastern wisdom and the benefit of it. And we just got to embrace it and trust it.
Beautifully said. Why you contemplate it together only today? Do it every day. Spend some time, maybe 1 or 2 hours in the morning and 1 and 2 hours in the evening, because you both are attending the session, and you will see that how you progress faster. How are you, Jetty?
Sir, I'm good, thank you. That readiness has to be there, right?
Yeah.
So, and I feel really rooted. I'm excited about this text. And I had this opportunity this week with my friend that's like a mother to me. And I'm able to, I love her unconditionally, and I'm wanting to contribute. And, but I wasn't understanding the emotional turbulence that was there. And so it took me backing up and saying again, what's happening? Because I felt the heart rate rise, and I felt the sweatiness in the palms, and I felt it in myself, and I wanted to understand. And it took a lot of reflection. But I was able to get out of my own way.
Yeah.
So, with this being just rooted and seated in our essence, then when we apply it in our day-to-day life, which we get so many opportunities to do, then we can contribute in that loving, peaceful way, even when it's a little tumultuous.
I love it, because you are applying that Eastern wisdom wherever it is needed, or we are living into the Eastern wisdom. So that is itself is an application. And it is beautiful because the idea and the intent of contribution changes my mindset. Because then it does not remain the consumer mindset, and the consumer mindset has an element of attachment and detachment. 90-year-old, she contacted me just 2 weeks ago, and she says, I have a guilt because of my son, why I did not advise him to go for some surgery before. And but that idea, the negative impressions were already present in the head. I said, well, are you ready to listen? So we started listening, and I gave a mathematical equation of the guilt is equal to these 4 aspects plus your real self, and find out what is real self. And she started laughing. She said, there is no guilt as such. It is because of the delusion. So that idea, that understanding will come from this text. So keep on contributing. Wonderful. How are you, Brandy?
Morning, thank you. I still have some unpacking to do here because today's lesson made me think about how much actually, let me reframe this. It gave me permission or sort of freedom to enjoy things from a different place, because for a long time now, I know I'm not the only one who said this, like even correcting ourselves when we say we like something or we don't like something. And I understand not having attachment to that, but what I wasn't doing was saying like, no, you're here to live, enjoy these things, but know where it comes from, right? Know that it comes from consciousness and not from the mind, like grabbing at things. So I don't know, that's kind of new for me, because I've been sitting in this attachment with likes and dislikes for a long time without thinking more deeply about it.
Yes, that is what happens. The persistent listening and learning helps you to reflect on that. Say, for example, I like a person, so I am aware, because I like a person, I want his company. So how I have to apply that Eastern wisdom here? So I say that in what way I contribute to him. Don't worry about liking and disliking. Don't start thinking about liking and disliking. Even if you dislike a person and the person is in front of you, so your mind, your intellect is asking a question, can I contribute to this guy in any way? Mentally, emotionally, physically, otherwise, in that particular situation, and you will see your like and dislike dissolve. So you have a new perspective. Ashok is nodding his head. That is how you have to apply to your honey. How are you, Ashok?
Thank you, sir. Namaste, everyone. Sir, ये जो like dislike है, suppose grow I like pasta, and it means my happiness is within, so that's why I like pasta. And if I don't like something,
then I have a hatred. So the next step is that from where the like and dislikes, what is the origin of likes and dislikes? It is the mind. Okay. And where I am beyond the mind.
Beyond the mind, yes. Okay.
I am different than the mind. I am separate from the mind. Mind is an instrument. So if you dislike something, say for example, if you dislike any food cooked by your honey, that is our Indian family does. All the wives, they normally cook the food. And one day you don't like the food, don't complain anything.
Okay.
Don't complain anything if you are a seeker. And once that complaint totally dissolves in your mind, maybe the next week you can say, oh, there was too much of salt is there, But anyhow, I liked it.
ठीक है सर.
So that is how you change yourself. You have to change yourself. How many times you have thrown the food and complained about the food? No, I will not ask you.
I never complained about.
I never complained. Oh, that's really good. I will ask.
I never
her.
complained. You may please.
Yeah. So how are you, Terry? Don't think that only Ashok has honey. We all have different honeys where we are attached or detached. My mom may be my honey, my dad may be my honey, my brother may be my honey, my sibling may be my honey. So honey is a common word used for, yes. How are you, Terry? Now you have to unmute.
I had a pretty deep, and I had a moment where I felt like this, I don't know if I can say, the space.
Yes.
Perceiving.
Yes.
I was perceiving the space and realizing that you could not go there with the mind.
Yes.
So then I had just a moment like that. So that was what I was really focused
Beautiful.
on.
You see my palm, the entire area of the palm. This is what the real self is. And over it, upon it, on it, there is a pointed needle. That is the mind.
Oh, wow.
So when you have that perception, so we recognize, yes, now it is not the mind, it is not limited. Will do. Thank you very much. We'll meet again.
Thank you, sir. Namaste, everyone.